of chapter 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, let us chant the shloka. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्
नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः
नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः
अजो नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो
अजो नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो
न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे
न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्
नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः
नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः
अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो
अजो नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो
न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे
Please chant someone.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Okay, let's go because the purport is little longer. Translation and purport. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Purport. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the spirit soul, the supreme spirit, is one with the supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or kutastha. The body is subject to six kind of transformation. It takes birth from the womb of mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through these changes. The soul is not born, but because he takes on material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there. The soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death, and because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, and future. He is eternal, everlasting, and primeval. That is, there is no trace in the history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth, etc., of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old as the body does. The so called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree nor anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproduct of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls, and owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither overshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from six changes of the body. In the Katha Upanishad 1.2.18, we also find similar passage which reads Najayate Mriyate Va Vipaschin Nayam Kutaschin Na Bahuva Kaschit Ajo Nityam Shashvato Ayam Purano Na Hanyate Hanyamane Sharire. The meaning and the purport of this verse is the same in the Bhagavad Gita, but here in this verse there is one special word vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge and or full always with consciousness. Therefore, the consciousness is the symptom of soul. And even if one does not find the soul within the heart where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find sun in the sky owing to the clouds or some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is there for daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of individual soul is bound to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment on superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like a forgetful soul. So, if so, Krishna's teaching of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confined in Katha Upanishad 1.2.20 in this ways. Anor Aniyam Mahato Mahiyan Atmasya Jator Mihito Guhayam Tam Akruti Pashyanti Vita Shoko Dhatum Prasadam Mahimanam Atmana. Both the super soul Paramatma and the atomic soul Jivatma are situated in the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desire as well as lamentation can, by the grace of Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetfulness of here real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. So, Krishna is continuing. Now he's going more deeper into the teachings and instructions to Arjuna. Till now, he was describing about the body is perishable, the soul is not perishable. And here, Krishna goes more deep into the soul's properties. So, as Prabhupada mentions, the soul does not have the six changes, right? And so this concept like this, how Krishna is trying to teach not only Arjuna but all of us to understand the soul, right? Because our mind or our thought process is so much based on our gross experiences and the material things that we see around us, including our bodies, that we are born, then we grow, then we maintain, then we produce byproducts, then the body grows old, and at one point we die. So whenever we look at anything, whether spiritual or material, we tend to relate what we see or what our thoughts are, and we try to search those things in the any material or any spiritual thing, right? So when we try to understand, that's why the soul, understanding soul is very difficult. Krishna told in the beginning, if you don't have faith or if you don't have shraddha in the God or in the shastra, scriptures, then if we try to materially try to understand the soul, it becomes very difficult. So but still, Krishna here is explaining with all these words, na jayate, birth, or death in past or future. So why is explaining this? He's trying to refute the our concept of the six changes, transformations. So for each six of the transformations, there is a na. Here there are so many nas, not this, not that, not born, not died, never, does not come into being, will not come into being, is abon, is nitya, is oldest. So all these words are against the our concept of that we apply for any physical thing that we see. So this is one way of convincing the person, right? So in our day-to-day life also, um, we use this technique. Sometimes, like the ladies ask the gents, right? Um, I have prepared some special recipe today, special dinner. Then the ladies will ask, please, you try to guess. Then what the person does, he tries to refute one by one. Rice, no. Okay, pizza, no. This type of concept, right? So this type of conversation is also, we try to minimize, we try to go to the short uh, or very small viewpoint where we can understand the reality. So this type of arguments or discussions we also have in our day-to-day life. What is not, what is not, this is not, this is not, this is not, so this is the reality. So here the same way it's explained that it's already explained that it is eternal. But still Krishna is stressing this point. Why eternal? Because it never dies, it never takes birth. At kadachit, never means not past, not future, not in the present also. And in the past also it was not created, and it will not be created again. It is unborn, it is nitya, shashwata, permanent. So all these sentences or words is doing that. The soul is existing from very old time, eternal, that we cannot imagine. We cannot see any history that these souls were created. So all these properties are to convince us that, and not us only, but Arjuna also, that if in our ignorance, when we try to relate or we think ourselves as body, we completely forget these characteristics of the soul. So here Arjuna and we also have to need to have faith. Arjuna has shown complete faith. He has said that I am surrender unto you. Now you instruct me. I don't know what is to be done. So when we study the Shastra or any scriptures, we should be surrendered to the teacher, that okay, whatever you tell, I will accept. Of course, there will be questions because Arjuna asked so many questions, but those questions will not be in a challenging mood, right? We have to grasp and understand and digest. So, soul, understanding of soul, many people struggle. Many people who are practicing spirituality, they also struggle because uh, they don't try to uh, trust, or they don't have faith. They don't have faith or shraddha in these shastras, and then they try to challenge the existence. But as I think in last few classes back we were discussing how we can experience that the soul is there. So this answer today, right? That soul is there, the proof is the consciousness. If you are living, if you are conscious, that means the soul is there, because consciousness is coming from soul. And in 10th chapter, Krishna also says that I am pervading all this body through the consciousness. So this property of consciousness is coming, is not coming of this world. It's coming from somewhere, something which is spiritual. So that is Atma. So now from here on, Krishna will describe more about the soul, and very practical examples, with very practical, not examples exactly, with practical words or with practical activities that he will try to describe, because he has already described the size and the location, and now he has described that there is the time concept is not there for the soul. Past, present, future, this concept we have, but for the soul this is not there. It's eternal, it's ever existing. uh, but the main point here is the difference between the individual soul and the supreme soul. So we tend to forget, or we fall into ignorance by identifying ourselves with this body. So we think this body that I am in now is my identity. That is the problem of the individual soul, and it forgets. So this will also become more clear in the seventh and eighth chapter, when Krishna talks about Gyan Yoga. From sixth chapter he starts talking about, sixth he talks about Gyan Yoga, and then seven and eight where he starts talking about the Bhakti Yoga. These points will be more clarified, and that those we will study as we proceed from in the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much.
Like we are now reading that we are not this body, okay? But then what soul is doing in the body?
So maybe you are alive. That is why you are reading.
No, no, what soul is doing in the body? Like body is doing all these activities, right?
Mhm.
Everything is done by material energy and the
Mm,
body.
mm.
Then what the soul is doing inside the body?
So when the soul is observing what is going on, if we do all these things, like spiritual things, talking about Krishna and trying to do some meditation, and those all activities help the soul to understand its real identity, uh, that it is not this body. That is why we all do all these activities, because those help the soul to understand and to the reality. That is what Krishna is also doing. So when Krishna is telling to Arjuna, it does not mean that Krishna's body is listening and soul is sleeping. No, soul is always alive. It's full of consciousness. And because of that consciousness, we are doing all these things. You are reading, you are seeing, whatever we are doing. So it's part of soul. No? You don't think that soul is a soul has two aspects, right? One is Atma itself, and one is the consciousness, right? Both are part of soul.
So one sentence is that soul is all knowledgeable in the same purpose.
Mm.
And there another sentence is that the consciousness is forgetful.
Mm.
Means how then he is all having all knowledge, then how he forget?
Because consciousness identifies with this body. Right now we are in Japan. Right, we are in Japan now. What do you do in Japan? You follow the Japanese rule. Why don't you shout on the road like India? Why don't you run here and there? Why don't I drive the car like India? Because now I identify with Japan. Okay, I am here, so I will behave like this person. But my real identity is I am from India, or I am from some other country. uh, But if I forget that I am Indian, uh, then I have to somehow get remember that, right? Okay, by from my body color, I understand. Oh, I am from not here, right? But for that, I have to put my consciousness. But if I lose my consciousness completely here, sometimes we don't remember. Like we are Indian, we are just living here. Like okay, I am from here only. So same way, the soul goes into that body, then the consciousness identifies itself with the body. That was in the one of the purport, that the consciousness identifies with the body. Because the consciousness identifies with the body and forgets, it is possible to purify the consciousness. That is why we say Krishna consciousness. So
So
when
means
the consciousness gets Krishna's knowledge, then the consciousness gets purified, and then it detach itself from the body, which is temporary. That is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. All these things.
so
That
means consciousness is different and soul is different.
consciousness is a quality of soul. Your hand is part of your body. You cannot say my hand is different. Your eyes are part of your body, right? That is the same. So our problem, why this verse is our problem, is we try to relate these material things to soul. And then we get confused and we try to see the examples. But these are so few of the examples by which we can understand, okay, my body is like, okay, my body, like what is my hand? If we say my hand is not mine, it's not correct. Like the my bank account, I have my bank account, I have money there. Whose money is that? It's my money. I keep the money in the bank does not mean it's not mine. That is my energy. Money is my energy in the bank. I use that energy and we live all these things. So similarly, consciousness is energy, like the sun rays is energy of sun through which it works. Light, this is the energy of sun through which it so we cannot say the light is what is sun doing when light is here. We cannot separate that. Because sun is there, light is there. And both ways. Because light is there, sun is there. Today's purport Prabhupada says. Because light is there, we understand sun is there. So both ways. So because consciousness is there, soul is there. So but light, the sunlight, it changes the color, right? At the sunset, sunrise. If we some put some lights and everything, then the color of the, if it goes through the prism, we can see seven colors. Right? Science we have checked. So the same light will have different forms. So the same way, the consciousness, as it controls into body, we identify the consciousness things. Oh, this is my body. This is mine. This is everything is mine. But then when consciousness will understand what is the real nature of body, soul, then it will say, oh no, I am really Atma's part and my Atma is different. Then that is why Krishna consciousness, we can change the consciousness. There are movies, right? In the horror movies, what they show, one person enters into another person's body. What they do, the consciousness of that person changes. If somebody enters into my body, for example, I will forget myself and that person will take over my consciousness. This type of things are there, right? So this is what is, that is why the consciousness is important.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I have a question. You told our consciousness, soul is watching whatever we are doing.
Mm,
Whatever we do, the activities, some of the things gives happiness and the distress. So
mhm.
we feel when we good result we feel happy. At the same time, some bad result we feel sad, sorrow, everything happens. So
Mhm.
that who is undergoing all the pains, happiness? That's the mind or the soul?
The mind has function to feel and will. uh, but the all the emotions, those emotions are coming from the soul,
Oh,
because the consciousness understands, right? Oh, I have pain here.
yes, yes.
So that consciousness understands, then it will send signal to mind, oh, something wrong there. Then the mind will say, oh, this is pain, or this is happiness, this I don't want, this I don't want, or this I want. Then the mind will judge, then intelligence will say, oh, this is against my will, so this is suffering. So all
The
this,
soul is suffering. Is it like that?
no, soul itself,
Yeah,
it will,
witnessing. Yeah,
it,
soul is witnessing all the activities what we are doing.
mm,
So soul
suffering
also
is called,
suffering. Is it like that?
so body is suffering.
But yeah, that is true. Body is suffering. The pain comes in the body only.
Mm.
So the feeling comes in the mind. Okay, okay. Then still the soul is just watching. Is it?
Just watching, yeah. So you can experience this. If you have a headache,
Hmm.
if you have a headache at that moment, or if you are angry, or if you are frustrated, or feeling down and depressed, at that time, if you can concentrate your mind or consciousness, uh, and try to detach yourself with that feeling of pain or headache or anger. Then you will feel that, okay, still I am okay. Even if all this feeling is there, I'm still okay. Because that time you try to detach yourself from that feelings and emotions. And then you will see the, oh, the consciousness is still okay. But if you come out of the stage and then you focus on this headache, then immediately consciousness goes there, and then we feel, okay, the headache is the only thing I have, or anger is the only thing I have. Then we start identifying with this. So at every point, the soul is observing. Consciousness, because it's getting mixed up with everything, through that we feel all these things.
Okay, okay. Then we have to use the intelligence to pull out. I
Yeah,
mean,
so at that moment we can experience. We try to detach with from
uh,
the
uh, uh,
pain, and then we can, this anybody can experience.
yes. Oh, then we have to use the intelligence. That's the point here.
Yeah, so that's why it is given intelligence, that we don't use intelligence that much in these spiritual things. But Bhagavad Gita is
No, no, no. Actually, you told a easy example this about the headache.
yeah.
That way, how to our change our mind, like
Mm.
it give instruction. So I mean, too much depressed makes
Yeah,
headache or something. We can change our mood in different way, relaxation, so that intelligence only gives the signal. You can do so and so thing, you can listen some kirtan or something.
we can
So that is the
observe.
intelligence is telling, right?
Yeah, right. So we can observe all these things when it happens, and then we understand, oh, I'm something different from all these things.
Observing,
Mm.
that is called consciousness, soul feel doing that. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Very good. So that's why Bhagavad Gita is very practical, and we have to apply to experience. Then it becomes joyful and interesting.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining. And this going. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.